إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين ثم أما بعد. We'll continue our class in the explanation of Al-Aqidah Al-Waasitiyyah by Shaykh al-Islam Ahmad ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala. And we're still in the introduction by the author rahimahullah, where he said that rahimahullah that from the belief of the saved and victorious sect until the day of judgment or until the last day is to believe in Allah and His angels, His books, His messengers, the resurrection after death, and to believe in the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the good and the bad of it. So the author rahimahullah mentioned those six things, and those are, of course, the pillars of Iman, the pillars of faith, the pillars of belief, and the fifth of them is the resurrection after death. And what that means is to believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes the people come out of their graves back alive, and to believe in that. And that is affirmed, and the evidence of that is from the Quran and the Sunnah, the authentic Sunnah, and also the consensus of the people of knowledge and the consensus of the Ummah, the entire Ummah of the Muslims, as well as the sound mind affirms that based upon the evidences. And as for the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned the last day and the day of judgment in many verses in the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, زعم الذين كفروا أن لن يبعثوا قل بلى وربي لتبعثن. Those who disbelieve, they claim that they will not be resurrected. Say, yes, indeed, by my Lord, you will be resurrected. And the verses and the ayat from the Quran regarding this matter are many. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said regarding the one who denies the resurrection after death, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in regards to him, وَضَرَبَ لَنَا مَثَلًا وَنَسِيَ خَلْقَهُ قَالَ مَنْ يُحْيِي الْعِظَامَ وَهِيَ رَمِيمٌ قُلْ يُحْيِيهَا الَّذِي أَنْشَأَهَا أَوَّلَ مَرَّةٍ وَهُوَ بِكُلِّ خَلْقٍ عَلِيمٌ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala affirmed that matter in many verses in the Quran, that people after they die on the day of judgment, on the day of the resurrection, that they will be brought back alive, and that their bodies will be made to come back as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wills. And so to believe in that. And also the ahadith in regards to this matter are many. The Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam in many ahadith, he sallallahu alaihi wasallam would say, whomsoever believes in Allah and the last day, then let him honor his neighbor. Whomsoever believes in Allah and the last day, let him honor his guest. Whomsoever believes in Allah and the last day, let him say good things or remain silent. And the hadith are many in regards to this matter. And likewise, there's consensus over this matter by all of the Muslims. None of the Muslims deny this. And likewise, there's consensus of all of the calls of all of the prophets and the messengers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that they called their people and reminded their people of the last day and the day of judgment. Likewise, the sound mind, based upon the proofs and the evidences from the Quran and the Sunnah, it affirms it. Because if there is no resurrection and no judgment, then one who is just and one who is good to others, and also first and foremost one who singles out Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and worships Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone with no partners, and one who is upon righteousness and upon good, will be the same as the criminal who denies the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or one who worships other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And likewise, they will be equal with those who commit crimes and kill people and steal their wealth and speak about their honor. And other than that, from the evil doings, if one does not believe in the last day and in the day of judgment, then the people will be the same, will be equal. There will be no difference. Some people, they remain upon evil and upon murder and other than this until the day they die. And if this was the end of it, and there's no day of resurrection, then those people, they would not be a sound mind and strong sound intellect refuses that he would be equal with the one who was upon righteousness, upon good, upon worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, upon singling out Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, upon being just and being kind and being good to others and having good manners. A sound mind does not accept that those two are equal. And so from the fruits of believing in the last day is for the person to know and realize that he will stand before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and that he will see the outcome of his actions. And if one realizes this and believes in this, then it will lead him to do righteous good deeds, to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to obey the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam, to steadfast upon righteousness, to leave off anything that brings the anger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to leave off anything that will harm the person on that day. And one will come to realize and recognize that this life is a temporary life, and the life that is eternal is the life in the paradise or in the hellfire. We seek Allah's protection and we seek refuge in Allah from the hellfire and from the way of the people of the hellfire. And so believing in the last day, it includes believing in it in general and specifically. To believe in general that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that the people will be resurrected on the day of judgment, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will judge the people, and the people will be questioned and will be judged, and based upon their actions and their belief, there will be people of the hellfire and there will be people of the paradise. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make all of us from the dwellers of the paradise and to protect all of us from the hellfire. And specifically, it is to believe in everything in everything that is reported in the Quran and the authentic Sunnah regarding the day of judgment, such as the signs of the day of judgment, the minor and the major signs, and then the blowing in the trumpet, the blowing of fear, the blowing of death. And some of the people of knowledge, they say that it is one blowing in the trumpet and that the people will die, and then there will be a temporary life of al-barzakh in people's graves, and then there's the blowing in the trumpet where people come back alive and they will be resurrected after their death, and then there's the gathering in the hereafter, and then the judgment, and there's the pond and the scale, the bridge, and that eventually there are dwellers of the hellfire and dwellers of the paradise, as well as believing in all of the details that are mentioned in regards to the paradise and the hellfire. So to believe in all of that in details. And as we mentioned before, that this book concentrates on 3 topics. If you look at the index of this book, you will find that there are 3 topics that are mentioned in detail in this book. Inshallah, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us life and the ability, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to cover the book, we will see that it covers the topics of believing in Allah's names and attributes, subhanahu wa ta'ala, believing in the last day along with all of its details, and also believing in the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is the 6th pillar of Iman that the author rahmahullah mentioned, where he said, وَالْإِيمَانُ بِالْقَدَرِ خَيْرِهِ وَشَرِّهِ, to believe in the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the good and the bad of it. So to believe in the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and believing in the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is actually believing in Allah's ability and Allah's might, subhanahu wa ta'ala, the exalted and high. So to believe in his might, to believe that he subhanahu wa ta'ala knows everything. He knows the things that happened, the things that will happen, and even the things that will never happen. If they were to happen, how would they be? And this is all in the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then to believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wrote all of this, and he commanded the pen to write. He created the pen and he commanded it to write everything that will happen. And that was 50,000 years before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the heavens and the earth, as is reported and as is in the hadith that is collected by Imam Muslim in his collection of authentic ahadith. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, likewise, أَلَمْ تَعْلَمْ أَنَّ اللَّهَ يَعْلَمُ مَا فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ إِنَّ ذَلِكَ فِي كِتَابٍ إِنَّ ذَلِكَ عَلَى اللَّهِ يَسِيرٌ. Do you not know that Allah knows everything that is in the heavens and the earth? Indeed, that is in a book. Indeed, that is easy for Allah. So to believe in the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that everything that happens is in the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and after that to believe in the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala creates the things and happen as He subhanahu wa ta'ala wills. And to believe in all of that. And the author rahimahullah mentioned the good and the bad of it, the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the good and the bad. And that of course is taken from the hadith, from the statement of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we know that that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala creates that which is good. Now in regards to the bad, when we talk and when we hear about the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the good and the bad. The good, we understand it. The bad, we should understand that it is bad in regards to the person that it befalls. That it is bad for him, that he finds it to be something that is harmful or something that is bad for him. And of course, we should know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not create anything that is absolute evil. The Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, from his supplication, a part of it is that he used to say, in supplicating to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَالشَّرُّ لَيْسَ إِلَيْكَ, and evil is not attributed to you. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not create anything that is pure evil. And even the things that a person thinks and they seem to be evil, we should know and we should understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the all-wise, and that He creates these things for a great wisdom, whether we know it or not, that there is great wisdom behind the creation of even the things that appear to be evil. An example of this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, ظَهَرَ الْفَسَادُ فِي الْبَرِّ وَالْبَحْرِ, corruption has shown and has come upon the land and the sea, بِمَا كَسَبَتْ أَيْدِي النَّاسِ, because of that which people's hands have earned, or because of what people have done and what they have earned, لِيُذِيقَهُمْ بَعْضَ الَّذِي عَمِلُوا, so that they would taste. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes them taste some of that which they have done. Now the reason behind it, the wisdom behind it, behind this corruption that appears in the land and the sea, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala قال لَعَلَّهُمْ يَرْجِعُونَ, perhaps they would return. How many people, when trials and tribulations and hardships they befell them, they returned back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they repented to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they supplicated to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they became closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because of that calamity, because of that hardship that befell them. And so we should understand that some of those calamities and some of the hardships, even some of the things, for example, the legal punishments that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala legislated, and we should know that there's good in them. There's great good in them. They are an expiation. When a legal punishment is applied upon a person who committed a specific sin for which there is a legal punishment, it is an expiation for that sin. And it also prevents other people from falling into the same sin. When they see that people are being punished for it, it prevents them from sinning and from following that sin. وَلَكُمْ فِي الْقِصَاصِ حَيَاةٌ يَا أُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ, to you is life in punishment. And also, for example, we look at illnesses and sicknesses. May Allah protect all of us from sicknesses and illnesses. However, there is sometimes great good. There's a great wisdom and great good that comes by way of illnesses and sicknesses. And examples, or some of those benefits, is that they remove sins. They remove people's sins. And if the person remains patient, that they elevate his level and they increase him in virtue. And in addition to that is that illnesses and sicknesses, they are a reminder of the bounty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon the person when he is healthy. When a person becomes healthy, he remembers that which he was upon when he became ill, and he becomes grateful and thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving him good health and for keeping him healthy. And also by looking at those who are ill, the person remembers the bounty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon him, and he becomes grateful and thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for that. Of course, as I mentioned before, that the topic of believing the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will come later, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. And this is briefly a brief introduction by the author rahimahullah, where he mentioned the 6 pillars of Iman, and then the author rahimahullah, he mentioned, and from وَمِنَ الْإِيمَانِ بِاللَّهِ, from believing in Allah, الإيمان بما وصف به نفسه في كتابه, to believe in everything that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described himself in his book, to the end of his statement. Inshallah, we will talk about it in the next class, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wills. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give all of us the beneficial knowledge and the righteous good deeds. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.